All right, welcome. I just want to talk about the offsides rule in the NHL and the review process for that. I'm going to preface this by saying I am a Bruins fan. I'm a Bruins fan first. I grew up in Boston. That's kind of my love for hockey coincides with watching the Bruins growing up. So, Bruins fan in and out, watch every game. Before there's any controversial comments or whatever, I'm a Bruins fan. And what brought about this video today was the Bruins Minnesota Wild game that occurred. The Minnesota Wild had two offsides goals, or two goals taken back because of offsides reviews. Now, fine. The first one, especially Connor Dewar, the Minnesota Wild, was significantly offsides. That's not really a question. There's really it is what it is. It's one of those things. The Wild players knew it. Matt Boldy, I think, scored the goal. You could see him during the review understanding that it was offsides. It's one of those things, fine. The second one is kind of where it's really getting hazy and coming down to it's more of a fine line. So Matt Boldy at the blue line dumped it in, while his foot was on the blue line when he passed it up, and I don't know. Theoretically, Boldy and the puck crossed the blue line into the attacking zone at the same time, but there was one frame that showed about a hair difference between the blue line and the puck, and Boldy's toe was not quite over the blue line. It was okay. So these are the plays that I find a little frustrating as just a general hockey fan. Again, it worked in favor of my Bruins this time, but this happens every once in a while in a game where there's an offsides review that probably has little to no impact on the actual play itself. It's a good hockey play. Or consequently, say the first goal, we'll refer to the first goal with the Minnesota Wild Bruins game where Connor Dewar is offsides. We'll refer to that goal that didn't count. Should Connor Dewar be offsides? The linesman missed it. Sure. The puck is in the offensive zone. Should it be in the offensive zone for a fairly significant amount of time? At what point is the offsides relevant? It becomes not. It becomes the attacking team has possession, has to maintain possession, and maintaining possession for a decent amount of time in the offensive zone it's not easy. It's not. There's no way around it. There's no really defending it. It's not easy when it's 5-on-5. So there's that. While I understand the Dewar offsides call, it's at what point, if the Minnesota Wild were in the attacking zone for a minute and a half just shooting, just maintaining possession and score, that goal's still called back even though it's a minute and a half into that play. That's kind of crazy to me. So my thing is, I think there should be some type of timeline, some type of time restriction between the offsides play and between the goal. Maybe 20 seconds. It's kind of the number I settled on, but I mean, that can be really deeply discussed later. But that's kind of where I'm coming from with that. I'm not mad or upset that the Connor Dewar goal was taken back. Whatever, it is what it is. And to preface this is the rest of this as well. I'm not upset at the linesman or the referee crew or the Toronto people reviewing the plays. They're following the rules. They're doing their job. That's how the rules are written. Okay. So there's no shade being thrown at the refs or the linesmen. There is going to be human error in any hockey game, and I think that's kind of where the Boldy thing comes in. Again, offsides by about a hair, literally a hair. He's dumping the puck as he's on the blue line, as his toe is half an inch away from the attacking zone, as the puck is a hair over the blue line in the attacking zone. How much of an effect does that really have on the play? It doesn't. It doesn't. There's no there's no arguing against it. There's no impact that has on the goal. Defenders were in position. They were defending appropriately. It's they forced a pass from Boldy or a dump or however you want to call it. Like, there's no real consequence when it comes to that hair of offsides, and that's kind of where I have a bit of a distaste for this review of offsides every time there's a goal. Teams have teams, I don't know, in their back room or in the press boxes, literally looking at every single offsides that happens, and letting the coach know that you should challenge this because this goal's not going to count. That's just it for me. For me personally, as a fan of hockey, that takes away a lot from the game. There are instances, sure, you review it, fine. I get it, but at the same time, at what point does that offsides have an impact on the goal, if at all, right? So whether we're talking about the time from a goal to an offsides takes place, or whether we're talking about not even an inch offsides, you really have to have those finite camera angles to make that determination. Even the center ice camera is you can't tell, or I don't know, you have to have a goal or a camera on the blue line, between the blue line and the attacking zone, right on that line, so you can tell, and you have to have a high frame rate on that just to make that determination. It's a lot of effort, and it's a lot of money. And I think it takes away a lot from a game. If a linesman is going to call that and they're right there, and they're not going to call it, and they have full visual of the play, what are we doing? I don't care what teams it's for or it goes against. I've seen plenty of calls go for and against the Bruins. I've seen plenty of calls go for and against the Wild. I don't care, but those two offsides goals, whatever calls, they affected the game. They just did. If those two goals counted, we would be talking about a 4-4 hockey game. That fifth goal that the Bruins scored was an empty net goal, right? The Wild had to pull a goalie because they were down by 2 goals, because of the 2 goals that were called back, that differential. We could be talking about a game that went into overtime and maybe was a little more exciting at the end. It wasn't the third period. I don't know. Once the Bruins scored that 4th goal, it just wasn't exciting. And that's okay. I mean, again, I'm a Bruins fan. Fine, I'll take a win any day. And the Bruins, dude, they're just a wagon. So it was cool to see the Wild battle and be competitive, even with all the injuries they have. But I just wanted to throw that out there. I personally do not like these offsides reviews. There's a time and a place for them, and I understand that. And I'm not saying get rid of them completely. Although I wouldn't be opposed to that, because you pay for 2 linesmen to be on the ice. If you're going to review every offsides, every zone entering by a team or a staff from both teams, why even have linesmen at that point, right? Either way, the game's getting slowed down because of these reviews. It's making fan bases unhappy. It's kind of giving a little bit of distrust in the refs in Toronto, even though it's not really the refs or Toronto necessarily doing a bad job. They're just following the rule book. So this is where it gets a little hazy, is how do you change the rule book to eliminate these more or less dumb offsides calls that negate goals, because they're pretty frequent. We may see, I don't know, I don't even know the numbers. Maybe once every other game or something, we see a challenge. So a half challenge a game or something from an offsides, and really just an offsides. So how would you? I'd probably do a time restriction. If the goal happened, again, like I said earlier, 20 seconds after the offsides or more, you can't review it. It's too late. It's gone. The play's been established. Whatever. That should have been called on the ice. It wasn't. Play resumed. Too much time's lost, and the team battled to stay in the offensive zone. They outplayed the defending team. They scored. It was a good shift, right? So I'm please do that. Again, the whole time, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, I don't know, 17 seconds, whatever you want to figure out. I'm sure there's a lot of analysis you could do to go figuring out that number. But the other thing is, if a player has possession and they're essentially on the blue line and it gets dumped in, or maybe they deke over the blue line. I think, was it Connor McDavid may have done that, or like, and we've seen that called both ways, a deke over the blue line. Like, he doesn't have possession for this 1 second because he's doing an open ice deke. Like, I don't know, man. If a puck carrier is bringing the puck in and clearly has possession to the point of the blue line, like, why review it at that point? Like, I don't know. We once saw, we've seen plenty of players come skate backwards into the attacking zone with the puck in front of them. So the puck is the last thing to cross the line. Or the player crosses before the puck, which technically is offsides, but the player has possession. We've seen, most of the time it gets called where the player has possession, it's onside, great. And that's how it should be. Like, I have no quarrels with that. We have seen times where the player will have possession, he'll cross the blue line, and then on the blue line he'll start to lose possession. And it's at what point, like, if you're just following the puck, like, it gets really hairy. How far away from the player? Are we talking a few inches? Are we talking a few feet? Obviously, it gets to a point where if it's like 5-6 feet away, like, it's just not onside. Which, fine, but there's always kind of a hazy line, right? And we saw one of those goals. I don't even remember which year. I think it was like 2 years ago. Couldn't tell you the game, couldn't tell you the players or the teams. But we saw that happen where the puck was maybe about a foot off of this player's stick as he was skating backwards into the offensive zone, and it was deemed offsides. I think they scored a goal on that. They reviewed it and they deemed it offsides. It's just so. My takeaway is the blue line is there for a reason. I like it. I like offsides. I like a more defensive structured game, and I think the offsides encourages more defensive play. I don't like the reviews where it's so close, and I don't like the reviews that take away a goal because of something that happened 30 seconds ago, a minute ago, 2 minutes ago. There was a game where the Bruins played, I think it was last year. Oh, it was 2 years ago. So not this season, not last season, but the season before. The Bruins had possession in the attacking zone for over a minute and 30 seconds. And then they scored because the defending team was exhausted. But that was called back. That goal was called back because it was an offsides. So that's the stuff I don't really want to see. So that's kind of my take. Again, Bruins won. I'm a Bruins fan. The calls worked in favor of the team I cheer for. But I came away from that game feeling disappointed and a little disgruntled. I feel like the Bruins, they played better. They probably should have won that game regardless. But I feel like it should have been a closer matchup, and I want to see more engagement from really both teams in the second half of that third period. I think it could have been a fun game. I think there was some, the pot was simmering and it was getting ready to boil, right? We're maybe going to see a fight. That didn't happen, so I don't know. But that's my take. Obviously, this is opinion and can be controversial. So obviously let me know what you guys think. Like, let me know, what do you think about the time? What do you think about, like, maybe changing the rule so the offensive player entering the zone with possession where they lose it, I don't know, is unreviewable or something. So let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you. Take care.